Chapter 3. It was the time of hippies and free love, drugs, sex, and rock and roll, and the Vietnam War. My father had been a war hero, and while I may have participated in the protest against the war and the establishment, I did it more for the free sex from all the young hippie and runaway girls and what I called the 25-cent fuck. A single marijuana joint cost 25 cents, and whenever you would ask a girl to go smoke a joint with you, the two of you would go off somewhere private to smoke the joint. It would almost always end up with you having sex, so I always referred to it as the 25-cent fuck. Everyone would attend protest rallies and concerts and party with drugs and alcohol. We would have love-ins and sex orgies after the events. Growing your hair long and protesting against the establishment and the war was popular, so I grew my hair and attended all protests, concerts, and rallies in search of new, strange, and different pussy. I had always been a sports jock too. I excelled in football and basketball, and I was good at baseball. But like I said, I excelled in football and basketball. I even set a record in high school for scoring 5 touchdowns in a single game. The record was not that I had scored 5 touchdowns, but that I had scored 5 touchdowns in every way that a touchdown could be scored in a single game. I scored a touchdown by receiving a pass. I scored another touchdown by intercepting a pass on a defense and returning it for the score. I scored a touchdown by returning a kickoff all the way for the score. I scored a touchdown by returning a punt all the way for the score. The last touchdown I scored was by taking a handoff from the quarterback. I was very proud of all that. For the first time in my life, my name was in the newspapers for something I could be proud of. I had always planned to go to college, hopefully on a sports scholarship. Back then, I was considered too small for a professional career in either football or basketball. While I could still go to college on a scholarship for football at that time, I could not see it turning into an NFL career because I was not over 6 feet tall and 200 pounds. The Air Force could not afford me my best chance for a career in the world of professional sports. I had it all planned out. I would win a gold medal in the Olympics for boxing because I believed I was good at that. I would continue with the money from the Air Force into college as well as pursue my education in the Air Force. After discharge from the Air Force, I would join either the CIA or FBI or even become a police detective. Being in the Air Force intelligence pretty much guaranteed that these types of careers and the idea of having a license to kill was very attractive to me then. This was still the era of the draft, and at 18, you had to register for it. Burning draft cards and fleeing to Canada was popular, but I knew that because of my father. I could never be a draft dodger. While I did not necessarily want to go to Vietnam, still, I knew that when the time came, I would not avoid the draft. Instead of waiting to be drafted upon my 18th birthday, I would enlist in the Air Force. I was 16 years old when I began committing armed robberies and dealing drugs. By the time I was 17, I had a woman who was 31 years old and an exotic dancer. She was called the Satin Doll. Then, exotic dancing was just really taking off. She had some humongous tits. They were silicone though. I did not like silicone-enhanced breasts, and I have never liked false tits. I like the real thing, no matter what the size. Everybody was in love with this broad. She had dope houses where she would hold her drugs and sell drugs. Like I said, she was 31 and I was 17. She saw something in me and she decided she was going to get me, and she was going to turn me out using sex. She was going to put a pistol in my hands and she was going to control me with that pussy, like she had always controlled all the men. One thing led to another. One night, she came to scout a friend of mine's house as a potential dope house because a lot of traffic went there. So she figured she could sell dope there too. She was beautiful, like a cross between the movie stars Jane Russell and Jane Mansfield. I watched her shoot down many men who were older than me. Men who had things and who were supposed to be somebody. I mean, they were drug dealers. They were supposed to be gangsters and pimps, and she was just shooting them down, treating them like they were just clowns. So I just observed her, and we talked. I knew to be careful with this woman. Whatever you do, be very careful. And she was unlike any woman or girl I had ever known. She was impressed by the fact that even though I was the youngest person there, I was treated with respect by everyone and was known by everyone. Anyway, one night she came to this friend's house, banging on the door at 2 o'clock in the morning, all excited, saying that she wanted Riley. I want Riley. Give me Riley. That was my last name and what everybody called me at that time. So my friend told me, hey, Satin came looking for you. She wants to see you. She says it's really important. So I was thinking, wow, alright, because this is one fine bitch and she wants me. So the night the meeting is set up for, that afternoon, I went to go see the movie The Godfather, again before I met with her. The first thing she asked me was if I have ever killed anybody. I asked her, why do you want to know? She said she had a contract killing she needed to have done. Now I was looking at this sexy ass bitch and thinking to myself, what answer is going to keep me still in the game of trying to get in her pants and not come off sounding like one of them lames I'd seen her shoot down the night I met her. So I told her, no, I've never killed anyone. But if the price was right, she told me the price of the contract is $5,000. Trying to sound more professional, mature, and experienced than I was, I told her, that doesn't sound like a whole lot of money to me. She said this was an easy contract at $5,000 and that it was fair for such an easy job. I countered with, I'll determine how easy it is. Then I told her, trying to sound serious and experienced, that we were now having a conversation that could put us both in jail. She began to explain how easy this contract would be to me. There was this guy who wanted his older aunt killed so that he could inherit everything since he was her only heir. Still trying to sound like an experienced gangster, I said to her, if I do this job, it's double. And I gotta have $5,000 up front and another $5,000 after it's done. I even told her I should even double that because I'm going to have to probably kill him too. I never intended on really killing anyone, even though I wanted to be a hitman. I didn't want my first hit to be some old lady. I wanted to keep stringing her along, sounding like the gangsters in the movie The Godfather. I never figured this guy would agree to my doubling the price, and I wouldn't lose face in front of her. So this guy agreed to my price. This surprised me. He owned a dress shop and he wanted to meet me. We were not to talk about the contract. He just wanted to observe me. He had a bodyguard driver type who drove him around, a big fat guy. So I went into his shop to meet him. While I was there, I observed his bodyguard leave the shop. I thought that this was unusual. Satin and I left after the meeting. I told her, just wait here in the parking lot. I want to see something. Sure enough, I see the fat bodyguard driver getting into his car. I told Satin, he is sending his driver to follow us. We let him follow us for a while to make sure that was what he was in fact doing. Then we lost him on the freeway. Later, Satin and I had a conversation. I told her, look, we should double the price because of what he's doing. He's trying to follow us to find out where I live, and that ain't cool. The only reason he would want to know where I live is because he plans to try to do something to me after I fulfill the contract. Like not pay me and to have me killed so he won't have any witness. Satin said, well, he won't pay that much. Why are you asking for that much? I said, because of this shit you now got me in. After I kill her, I'm gonna have to kill him. I may even have to kill you too, I told her. This guy has no intention of paying me the second half. He wanted you to bring me there so that this goon can get a good look at me and so that they could take me out. How the fuck do I know that you're not part of this too? My accusing her of possibly being involved in the whole plan of using me to do the dirty work, then having me killed stunned her. I pulled my gun and I told her, bitch, you better not be fucking playing with me. She swore she didn't know anything about what he's doing, but she agreed it did look like that could be a possibility. But she didn't think this guy was that smart. She said, besides that, what about her? He would have her killed too? I laughed. I said, maybe he's planning on killing you too. She asked me, what do you want me to do? I told her, let's get the money. This seemed to intrigue her. She smiled and she said, what do you mean let's get the money? Let's go ahead with the contract. Get the first half, get the instructions, tell him it's a go. I don't want him to think that we are aware of his plans. Bitch, you better not be playing with me because I don't care how hot your fine ass is. I will kill you. She laughed and said, I knew when I met you, you were going to be trouble, Riley. So the guy told me through Satin, this was the setup and how he wanted it done. His aunt was 82 years old. She lived in a big condo and she had a bad heart. He was going to have her go to the bank and withdraw a large amount of money on the day of the hit. So she was known to have withdrawn money that day, and that a possible motive for her killing would be that someone saw her withdraw the money, follow her home from the bank, robbed and killed her. He gave me a key to her place, and what he wanted me to do was go in there and take the money she withdrew from the bank. Also, she had a big ring with a big ruby that was her heirloom. I was to take that ring. That would be proof that I had been there and that I had done the deed. When I gave him the ring and she was dead, I would get the rest of my money. I could keep the money she withdrew from the bank. It would be a few $1,000s. So I said, okay, set it up. I'll do it. I'll kill the old lady. Let me say something right here. I wasn't going to kill her. I was not going to kill any old lady. What I was going to do was take the money she had from the bank. I was going to take her ring, and then I was going to warn her that I had been hired by an unknown source to kill her. Then I was going to go back and say, dude, hey, you got to give me the rest of the money or I'm going to tell your aunt that you're the one who hired me. Then you will be cut out of her will. So I was going to blackmail this punk, and the old lady would have to put security around herself. I thought he was a punk for wanting me to kill this 81-year-old lady. Why couldn't he just wait for her to die naturally? So that was my plan. My intention was never to kill this old lady, and I still couldn't trust Satin enough to let her in on my plan. I was still trying to impress her with how mature and advanced a killer I was for my young age, and I was afraid that if I told her the truth, she would bail on the contract with me and hire someone else. Going along with taking this contract would keep me close to her, which I wanted to be, but on my terms, and possibly save this woman's life too. Until I could get Satin's pussy and get the money from this contract too. She was more than eager to give me her pussy. I was actually intimidated by her sheer physical beauty and obvious gangster bitch quality. The last thing I wanted to do was stick my dick inside her and come in the first few seconds. This is how hot and sexy a woman she was. I was a young 17-year-old wannabe gangster, and here was this sexy, seasoned, experienced 31-year-old exotic dancer. I had just seen the movie The Godfather the second time when our paths met. I tried to imitate Michael Corleone to the best of my young ability. I knew this woman was dangerous, and I wanted to get me some of everything she had to offer a young stud like I was. Now, even for all my young wild sexual fantasies being fulfilled, with her was I ever gonna kill some old lady. No pussy in the world was worth doing such a cowardly act as this to me. Burning this piece of shit nephew, now that was very attractive to me. By the time it would finally all go down, I would have gotten close enough to Satin that she would agree with me to just burn this dude. And she would still respect me even though I refused to kill an old lady. Either way, it would give me time to work my charms on Satin and give me a chance to have sex with this beautiful, dangerous bitch. The funny thing is that she had her own agenda for her plans to seduce me and get me into bed with her from the first time she had met me, come to her house and met me in a completely see-through baby doll lingerie. She walked around me the whole time I was there practically naked, tempting me, observing me and my reaction, even showing me the dance routine she did in the clubs. She would ask me what I thought of how she looked for her age of 31. I knew then she was trying to seduce me, but I told her that I was a professional and believed in business before pleasure. I said this with a false confidence and the best imitation of Hollywood classic gangsters I had grown up idolizing. The truth was, I had never had a woman as sexual and as beautiful and experienced as she was in my life. I was scared that I wouldn't be able to satisfy her, so I tried to play it cool and wait until I felt confident enough. This only made her want me more. The night I was going to do this robbery, I was dressed all in black except for a white turtleneck under my black shirt and black sport coat. Back then, turtlenecks were fashionable, and I always dressed sharp. Still, to this day, people say I dress sharp. Anyway, when I entered the condo, remember, I had a key. I made no noise. I looked around the house and headed for the master bedroom. I wanted to catch the woman off guard and control her immediately so she was quiet and not screaming and alerting her neighbors. I couldn't find her in her bedroom. I could see her clothes on the bed and her purse on the dresser, and then I heard a crashing sound, a thud, and water splashing coming from the bathroom. I figured this was where she must be, but what was all the splashing sounds? So I eased to the bathroom, opened the door, and what I saw shocked me at first. This woman was naked, trying to pull herself out of the tub and slipping and splashing everywhere. I instinctively knew she was in trouble by the look on her face. I don't know why I did it at the time, except that I didn't want to frighten her any more than she already looked. I pulled my ski mask completely off my face and rushed to help her. That's when she noticed me for the first time. Like I said, she was naked, and I just instinctively understood that a man in a ski mask suddenly in her bathroom was not going to help the situation.